What are you looking at, butthead?
Alright, so I just watched this last night. This is Under the Skin. Again, one of the movies that has been making lots of people's best of 2014 lists. I listen to a lot of podcasts about movie podcasts, and quite a few of them had this listed as their number one best film of the year. So this is one I definitely want to check out. I don't think it was getting really a lot of recognition throughout the year. I don't think it really did much in theaters. I don't even really remember it being in theaters. I think kind of the only, it's getting praised now as one of the best films of the year from like critics, and kind of people that review movies for a living, those types of people. But I think by and large, for the general public, this kind of sailed under the radar a bit. One of the reasons that people do know about it is probably because it stars Scarlett Johansson, and she does full frontal nudity in it. So that kind of, that gets people's interests going a little bit when a big star like Scarlett Johansson does nudity. And I didn't do any research into it, but I think this is one of the first movies that she's done nudity for. So if that's the only reason you see the movie, it's kind of sad, but at least it'll get you to watch the movie. And it is a really, really good movie. So going into it, there's not a ton of dialogue. This is a very art house type of film. And so we follow this mysterious woman who is played by Scarlett Johansson. And I don't think this is really a spoiler. I knew this going into it, but if you want to be like super surprised, just don't listen to my review. But she's like a mysterious woman, but she's some sort of alien being, which I knew going in. And I think this is actually based off a book, but I'll get into that later. So right away we see her, and she's just getting clothes from a random person. She gets her clothes, and then she gets into a van, and she's going around Scotland and just luring men into her van. It was really interesting that she looks for people, but they need to be single. She asks a lot of questions, if they have families, if they're going to meet people. And she's very, very particular about who she gets into the van. And then once she does get him in the van, she takes him back to a house. And once you're in there, it gets pretty creepy, and these men get submerged into this weird black goo, and they disappear. And she continues to do this. We don't really know why exactly she's doing it, which will be some of the questions that come up later. But after that, she does this for a while with multiple people, and then she kind of starts discovering maybe her humanity, or just kind of questioning her existence. And we see that, and that's kind of what happens in the second half of the film. Like I said, this is a very artsy kind of movie. There's not a lot of dialogue. The plot is pretty straightforward, but one of the first things I noticed right away that this movie is just visually, it's incredible. It's really stunning what they've done with the visual style of this movie. And I guess I didn't mention this before, but it's directed by Jonathan Glazer. One of the movies he did before this, he's probably most well known for, is Sexy Beast, which starred Benjamin Kingsley and Ray Winstone. I've only seen the very beginning of that movie. I've never seen the whole thing. So, yeah, this is probably, I can see why this is making a lot of people's best of list, because it's extremely good. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5, but it's also kind of one of those films that's probably a little polarizing. So if you're just an average moviegoer that likes, big action flicks or stuff that's really easy to digest and doesn't really want to sit and think a lot, and not these types of movies aren't for everybody. They're, like I said, it's kind of an art house crowd, or if you're like a film student, stuff like that. This is great. I mean, this is what you can really achieve with like the medium of film. This movie is like amazing for that. And I just kept thinking, like, it's cinematically, like, it's beautiful, like everything that happens. Even though there's not a ton of dialogue and all that in it. Scarlett Johansson's great, and there's lots of questions that come up And one of the main ones is that there's this motorcyclist with her pretty much the whole entirety of the film. He's one of the first guys we actually see, and you're just kind of wondering, what his role is in this. And I don't think I'll get into too many spoilers, but he plays as like a bit of like not like a bodyguard, but kind of as like I kept thinking of him as like a cleaner, like as in he cleans up anything that Scarlett Johansson's character might do wrong, and we see that once or twice. He's there to kind of just keep her in line or make sure everything she does is done okay. It's just kind of a mysterious. She's mysterious, and then this biker guy is mysterious too. And then later we actually get to see that there's more of them, and that just kind of adds to the intrigue of the story. Couple scenes in particular. Well, first off, I mentioned the black goo, and whenever they show that, it's really incredible, just the visuals of it. But there's also this music that accompanies it every time somebody walks into it, and the music is just like super ominous. And once you see it once or twice, it just kind of, you get like a Pavlovian instinct happening when you hear the music start up. You're just starting to get, it's like your heart starts beating a little bit faster. You're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen to this guy? And then there's there's one scene when they kind of show the full extent of what this goo can do, which is really intense. And there's that scene with this black goo, and there's a baby scene where Scarlett Johansson's character is just on a beach, and she's still kind of in the mode of finding people to take back to her house, and she's just watching a couple people on a beach, and we're not really sure what's happening. But as she's standing there, she's going to start trying to seduce a guy that's surfing. And then off in the distance, there's a couple, and it's cold out. They're all wearing jackets and stuff, but there's like a guy running into the water, and this scene unfolds. And just the way it's shot and the music that's playing, it's just it's just so visceral. I just remember I was just like sitting at the end of my couch, like, what is going on? And I was just like, it just grabbed me, like, oh, that was a great scene. That scene and the black goo one, they're really, really good. I mean, just for those two scenes alone, it's worth watching this movie. But then there's a lot more that goes on. So eventually we see she kind of comes down the stairs at one point, and she looks into a mirror and sees herself. And I just had a kind of question about that scene, because you kind of get the sense that this is the first time maybe she's actually seeing herself in this human skin or whatever, or as maybe a human. I don't really know what's going on, but then I was wondering, because is this supposed to be the first time she saw herself in a mirror? Because before we saw her doing makeup with like a little compact mirror, so a bit of a question there. But then also you start wondering, how much does she actually know? She's been luring people into this van and takes them back to a house, so she can interact with people pretty well. But then we get this great scene where she can't eat. She orders some cake and she doesn't know how to eat it. So your mind is just kind of like, your gears are turning in your mind, like, okay, how much does she actually know? She can interact, but she doesn't know, the full mechanics of being a human. It was really interesting. So it brings up all these questions, which I liked a lot. There's also this great reversal of the goo scene. And you can probably see it in the trailer. So Scarlett Johansson will take these guys to the house, and she'll be walking backwards on this black floor. And as she walks backwards, it's like she's stripping so that they come towards her the whole time. And she's walking over the black goo, but then the guys start to sink into it. It's a great visual image. But then there's the reverse shot of that, kind of when she's kind of trying to discover herself a little bit more. She shacks up with a guy for a little bit, and they're walking into the woods, and they reach a puddle, just a regular puddle on a trail, and he picks her up and walks over it. I just thought it was a great kind of, dichotomy of her being able to walk over this black goo and the guys couldn't, and now this guy can pick her up and walk through the puddle when she couldn't. That was really neat. I like that little scene there. So, yeah, I think those are most of my notes. It starts out super strong. Like I said, just from the beginning, it's a It's a thriller. It's mysterious the whole time. You're just kind of wondering what's going on. It starts strong. It's really intriguing. Then it slows down a bit when she's just kind of questioning her existence or whatever. That slows down a little bit, and then the ending is just kind of hits you right in the face. The ending was, it was really intense. I'm not gonna ruin any of it, but it's awesome. So yeah, like I said, I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. Definitely recommend it if this style of film is in your wheelhouse. Probably won't attract everybody. Some people might say it's boring or it's dumb, but if you love beautifully shot movies and just a mysterious story, definitely check it out. The one movie that I thought of towards the beginning of watching it was the David Bowie film, The Man Who Fell to Earth. It's kind of an art, I think that's from the 70s, about an art house film from that period. There's a lot more going on in that movie than here. The plot for Under the Skin is pretty straightforward, even though you don't really get the whole extent of it. But then after that, I just kind of thought, maybe I was reaching, but I was thinking of Twin Peaks a little bit, with Scarlett Johansson's character luring people into this mysterious house, and there's the black goo, and I feel like that was kind of mentioned in Twin Peaks a little bit. There's like a mysterious black house and stuff like that. It's got that weird, it kind of has that David Lynch feel to it, where there's maybe another world going on, and otherworldly things happening, but just super intriguing and thrilling. So those are the two films that kind of popped into my mind. So let's see if I have anything else. Yeah, I definitely want to. Oh, I was going to mention that this is based off of a book, and I just went in and looked at some of the comments that people had. I guess it's very different. Well, it's significantly different from the book. I guess the novel, or I'm not sure if it's a short story or what, but the story that it's based on goes into a lot more detail of Scarlett Johansson's character and, kind of what they're doing. So that's interesting to read after seeing the movie. I'm not a big novel reader. If anything, I'll just listen to something on audiobook. But I would, if you hadn't read this book, I would say watch the film first and then maybe go read the book and get more information, because I think you get a lot more information about what's going on. And I like the film as it is, how mysterious it is. You don't really know, who Scarlett Johansson really is, who the motorcyclists are, for sure. You just kind of get to guess and infer and kind of make up your own backstory for everybody. So I like that part of it. So I'd say kind of avoid, personally, I would avoid getting into the book until maybe after seeing the film. But then just reading a couple of people's comments, it was interesting to hear a little bit more of the information about what's actually going on in the book. So, okay, that'll be it.